Hello, dear friends and companions. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, subscribe to me on YouTube, and join my Telegram channel where I wrote my ID in the caption and description and in all the videos at the bottom corner. Follow me so that I can present the best story to you. Our story today. Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a city where the sky always seems to hang heavy, a persistent rain slicking the streets, blurring the usual urban cacophony into this kind of muted hum. But beneath that everyday drone, a sinister pattern is quietly, terrifyingly emerging, painting the streets with fear and, well, uncertainty. Today, we're not just telling a story, we're truly diving deep into a captivating and chilling mystery that unfurled in Tehran back in the autumn of 2024. This is a narrative that has since been chillingly dubbed the elephant in the dark, Tehran's green Benz murders. You've brought us the stack of reports, detective notes, and some pretty shocking revelations uncovered along the way, and our mission, if you choose to accept this journey with us, is to meticulously piece together a puzzle that baffled even the most seasoned investigators. It's an intricate web of corporate malfeasance, hidden truths, and the terrifying lengths people will go to silence those who dare to expose them. Prepare for some serious aha moments because this one winds through some truly dark alleys, revealing not just a killer, but, well, a whole system. We're going to follow Detective Bahram Sharifi, a man already known for his knack for cracking the toughest cases. He's faced down hardened criminals before, right? But this time he's confronted with a series of murders, 3 in as many months, each bearing this chilling, almost theatrical signature. A cryptic note penned in stark red ink proclaiming, "Elephant in the dark sees the truth." And always the unsettling presence of an old green Benz, an almost mythical specter that haunts the edges of every crime scene. This isn't just another whodunit. This is a profound exploration into the very nature of concealed power, the corrosive influence of corporate corruption, and the desperate, often brutal measures taken to maintain silence. It's a testament to the idea that sometimes the biggest truths are hidden in plain sight, just waiting for someone brave enough to see the elephant.
What's immediately fascinating here, I think, is the sheer complexity thrown at Bahram Sharifi right from the outset. Traditionally, when we think of a serial killer, we often expect a consistent modus operandi, or MO, that's their unique way of committing crimes, right? A recognizable pattern in their methods. But here, the victims are so strikingly disparate in their backgrounds and the methods of killing very wildly. Yet the killer's calling card, the specific note, the green cloth, the reported green Benz sightings, remains identically consistent. This contradiction immediately raises an important question for any investigator. Is this truly a random killer, driven by, chaotic impulses? Or is there a much deeper, far more intricate, and perhaps symbolic connection tying these diverse individuals together, a connection that transcends their personal lives? As we carefully unravel this deep dive, you'll see how a seemingly disconnected collection of victims slowly, almost inevitably, converges, pointing towards a powerful hidden hand at play. It's really a masterclass in how seemingly small details, when properly connected and analyzed, can expose a massive conspiracy that stretches far beyond what initially meets the eye, revealing a sophisticated network rather than, say, a lone wolf. The sheer audacity of the killer to leave such a distinct signature, yet choose such varied targets, immediately signals that this isn't a simple case of personal vengeance or random violence. It's a message, a calculated statement of intent.
Let's begin at the chilling genesis of Bahram's nightmare. He's stationed at Police Station 12, the flickering fluorescent lights casting long shadows as he pores over these early disturbing reports. You can almost feel the tangible weight of a city under siege by an unseen menace pressing down on him. The common threads are there, undeniably woven into each crime scene like some kind of macabre tapestry, but the victims themselves couldn't be more distinct. It's enough to make any detective scratch their head right. Caught between the unsettling possibility of single killer with an inexplicably strange agenda or something far more convoluted, a conspiracy that just defies easy categorization. What kind of mind would operate with such a perplexing blend of meticulous branding and chaotic execution?
Well, if we connect this to the broader landscape of criminal investigation, the immediate challenge is always to look beyond the surface, beyond the obvious. When victims appear unconnected, investigators often, and it's understandable, make the initial assumption of random acts, perhaps a spree killer with no specific target profile, or maybe even multiple unrelated crimes. However, the deliberate, almost theatrical consistency of the signature elements, the stark red ink note and the eerie green cloths, it demands a search for a more abstract, perhaps thematic or symbolic link, rather than direct personal ties between the victims. This forces Bahram to think critically, doesn't it? To move outside the traditional profiling box and to consider a motive that might not be immediately apparent from the victims' individual lives or even their specific causes of death. This unwavering consistency in the brand of the crime, despite the variable victims and diverse methods, is a profound psychological play. It's almost a defiant statement from the perpetrator, a challenge thrown directly at law enforcement, daring them to understand the deeper truth they are communicating. It tells us the message is as important as the murder itself.
So who are these initial victims that first confound Bahram Sharifi? Our journey into the macabre starts with Mohsen Karimi, a 45-year-old carpet merchant. He was discovered in a grimy alley, tucked away behind Tehran's famously bustling Grand Bazaar, his throat brutally slit. A grim discovery that starkly contrasted with the vibrant tapestry of commerce and life that usually defines that area. Then we encounter Sara Nemati, a 33-year-old lawyer found stabbed to death in the parking lot of her apartment in the affluent Sadat Abad district. That's a stark professional and geographical contrast to the bizarre merchant, isn't it? And then the third victim, Kazim Rahimi, 52, the CEO of a pharmaceutical company, found in his private, secluded villa in Lavasan with a syringe full of poison meticulously injected into his neck. And this is where it gets really interesting, you see, because the method of killing changes so drastically from a blade to poison, yet that chilling singular signature, the red note and green cloth, remains undeniably present at every scene. What could possibly unite these three individuals in such a brutal and varied manner beyond that ominous shared calling card?
What's truly fascinating here, and indeed a critical insight for our deep dive, is the deliberate consistency of that signature despite the wildly divergent methods of murder and the strikingly diverse victims. The red ink note, boldly proclaiming "Elephant in the dark sees the truth," and the distinct green claws found at each scene, they're not accidental or coincidental, not at all. They're a profound statement, almost a manifesto, perhaps a message intended for more than just the police. This consistency suggests a killer who is not only meticulously precise in their branding, but also possesses a degree of theatricality, a chilling need to communicate a specific, overarching message. And let's not forget the initial, though still vague, reports of a green Benz, which even at this early stage provides a potential physical, tangible link amidst the disparate human elements. This combination of a unique brand and varied execution is a perplexing paradox that immediately flags these cases as something far out of the ordinary. It challenges the very definition of a serial killer in the traditional sense. It's almost as if the killer is trying to prove a point about their reach, their impunity, and their ability to strike anywhere, against anyone, all while leaving their distinct, chilling calling card. It demonstrates a calculated, strategic mind, rather than a purely impulsive one, definitely.
So when the methods vary so wildly, a slit throat, a precise stabbing, a poisoned syringe, but the same cryptic message, and the eerie green cloth and green Benz reports appear at every scene. What does this tell us, you might ask? It suggests a killer who isn't bound by a single MO for the act itself, but who is rigidly committed to an overarching theme or message. This isn't about the how of the kill, it's about the why and the who behind the message. It feels almost like a calling card for a larger organization, perhaps.
Or a person with a profoundly twisted sense of theatricality, rather than just a solitary individual driven by a single, unchanging compulsion.
Right. The methods might be carefully chosen based on the victim's vulnerability, their environment, or even to send a specific chilling message to onlookers.
Rather than reflecting a personal preference of the killer.
This psychological play of consistency in signature and variation in method is a powerful form of intimidation and, well, obfuscation, too.
The fourth victim and a familiar name emerges.
Just as Bahram is grappling with these initial, perplexing cases, trying desperately to find some common ground beyond the ominous, cryptic signature, another call shatters the late-night quiet. It's 11 p.m. Mellet Park, a body discovered near the lake. The scene, as described in the reports, is cold, damp, shrouded in this thick, almost impenetrable fog. It's almost cinematic in its gloom, painting a picture of desolation that perfectly matches the horror of the discovery. This isn't just a crime scene. It feels like a stage set for another act in this deadly drama. The victim, a man around 40, expensively dressed, a glinting Rolex still on his wrist, a stark symbol of a life abruptly ended. His throat, like Karimi's, was described as carefully and delicately cut, a precision that chills Bahram to the bone, indicating a professional, almost surgical hand. And once again, the familiar green cloth, the red ink note, declaring in no uncertain terms, "The elephant sees the truth in the dark." But this time, a new vital clue emerges from the shroud of fog, a tangible link that shifts the investigation into high gear. Deep tire trails etched into the damp dirt, and a park guard who distinctly saw an old green Benz speeding away from the park minutes before the body was discovered. This isn't just a fleeting rumor anymore, a whisper on the wind. It's concrete, solid evidence anchoring that mythical green Benz to a very real crime.
For you, our listener, this is an absolutely critical turning point in the investigation. No doubt about it. The tire trails aren't just minor details. They are undeniable physical evidence directly linking the elusive green Benz to the crime scene. It moves it from a mere rumor or a fleeting sighting to a concrete, verifiable piece of the puzzle. This shifts the perception of the car from a symbolic motif or, a narrative flourish to a crucial, tangible lead that Byram can now actively pursue. A specific vehicle that was demonstrably present at the time of the murder. It grounds the abstract green Benz into something real. This transforms the entire trajectory of the investigation, from symbolic pursuit to concrete identification, narrowing the scope significantly and giving Byram a solid anchor to begin tracing. This is where the hunt gets real.
Bahram returns to the police station, the damp chill of Mellet Park still clinging to his clothes, and quickly identifies the victim. It's Arash Tehrani, 41, the manager of an import company. And here's where the hair on the back of your neck might stand up. Because for you, our listener, this is the moment where the seemingly disparate threads begin to knot together. Arash Tehrani's company had a direct business relationship with Pars Daru Pharmaceutical Company, a name that, if you recall from the files, has haunted the fringes of Detective Sharifi's previous unsolved cases, like those of Dr. Saburi and Layla Rahimi. Suddenly, the random violence takes on a much more sinister, interconnected pattern. The scattered pieces of the puzzle now seem to belong to a much larger, darker picture, and Pars Daru is right at the center of it.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the name Pars Daru is not new to Detective Sharifi, and this is highly significant. The source mentions its repeated appearance in previous unresolved cases, like the murders of Dr. Saburi and Layla Rahimi you just mentioned. This is a crucial thread that links these seemingly random killings to a larger, ongoing narrative of crime or corruption. It immediately shifts the focus from a purely personal vendetta against the individual victims to something potentially corporate, systemic, maybe even political in its scope. It's as if a grand tapestry of illicit dealings is slowly being revealed, and these murders are merely symptoms of a deeper, more entrenched, and far more powerful problem. This connection also brings us back to that mysterious businessman Farhad Rahmani, whose shadow could be seen in all these crimes. Rahmani's empty mansion at Zafarani, a sprawling and eerie symbol of his evasiveness, becomes an even more significant location now, doesn't it? A symbolic representation of the elusive, powerful forces at play. His consistent mention, even without direct involvement in these murders, strongly points to a powerful network where he might be a key figure. Perhaps not the ultimate mastermind, but certainly a crucial node, an indispensable part of the operation.
Unveiling Pars Daru's dark secrets.
The next morning, Bahram doesn't waste a single moment. With the name Pars Daru echoing ominously in his mind, he heads straight to Arash Tehrani's office on Firshta Street. What he learns from Nagar, the company secretary, is truly eye-opening, almost too perfect in its confirmation of his darkest suspicions. The pieces of this complex puzzle aren't just clicking into place. They're aligning with a disturbing, almost surgical precision, revealing a pattern far more insidious than random acts of violence. Nagar, visibly shaken and in tears, her voice barely a whisper, reveals Arash's growing fear in the days leading up to his death. She tells Bahram with a tremor, Arash was worried a few days ago. He said that someone was following him. He had seen a green Benz several times in the parking lot, just waiting. Then, with a shudder, Nagar dropped the bombshell that made Bahram's blood run cold. Arash had recently severed all ties with Pars Daru, not over a mere business dispute, but because he'd unearthed irrefutable evidence of their involvement in a vast network of illegal activities. He hadn't just suspected, he had proof. And to underscore her words, she fumbled through a chaotic stack of folders on Arash's desk, pulling out a binder filled with meticulously organized documents. She laid them out for Bahram. Invoices for raw materials that never matched the final products, shipping manifests detailing routes for what appeared to be innocuous medical supplies, but were clearly coded, and internal memos hinting at quality control issues that were anything but. These weren't just allegations. These were the very blueprints of a deadly deception, confirming his darkest suspicions and painting a picture of a criminal enterprise far more sophisticated than he had initially imagined.
For you, our listener, this raises an absolute critical question. What kind of legal activities are we talking about that would warrant such a severe and violent response, culminating in murder? That documents Nigar provides immediately clarify the profound, chilling motive. They meticulously detail how Pars Daru was systematically importing counterfeit medicines through Arash's seemingly legitimate import company, using his business as an unwitting or perhaps initially unwitting front. Arash, upon discovering the horrifying truth about these deadly fake drugs that could harm countless unsuspecting patients, threatened to expose them. This immediately provides a powerful, clear-cut motive for the murders, silencing a whistleblower. This individual held the potential to dismantle their entire illegal operation, expose a deep-seated network, and bring their illicit, life-threatening activities into the glaring light of public scrutiny. It transforms the abstract fear of being followed into a very concrete, deadly threat, explaining the meticulousness of the murder and the desperate need for absolute, permanent silence. This is the playbook of corporate malfeasance writ large, isn't it? Leveraging legitimate businesses as fronts and then ruthlessly eliminating anyone who threatens that carefully constructed facade.
This changes everything. Absolutely everything. The mystery doesn't just take on a new, darker shape. It deepens, revealing layers of corruption far beyond what anyone might have initially conceived. Bahram, understanding that this isn't a new game but a long-standing pattern, immediately dives into the police archives, pulling Pars Daru's old files. He knows that this company's tendrils stretch far back in time, and what he finds takes the conspiracy even deeper into the past, revealing a disturbing pattern of illicit activities that suggests this isn't a recent criminal enterprise, but a deeply entrenched, multi-generational one. The archival documents reveal that Pars Daru was involved in illegal drug trials on unsuspecting, vulnerable patients way back in the 1990s. The ethical violations are just staggering. And in these heinous acts, Farhad Rahmani, that mysterious businessman whose shadow always seemed to hover, is explicitly named as the main investor. So Rahmani's involvement isn't a new development, a fresh face in a recent crime. It's a consistent, insidious thread running through decades of malfeasance, marking him as a long-term player in this dark game. But a new, tantalizing detail emerges from those dusty files. A crucial lead. A note about an abandoned warehouse in southern Tehran, specifically in Karizak, allegedly used to store illegal drugs. This isn't just a historical record, it's a potential active crime scene, a physical manifestation of their ongoing secrets, and Bahram knows exactly what his next move must be.
What's truly fascinating here, and a core insight into the nature of deep-seated corruption, is the extraordinarily long, disturbing history of this company's alleged illicit activities stretching back decades. It suggests a deeply entrenched, almost institutionalized network rather than a mere recent criminal venture. This isn't opportunistic crime. This is systemic, calculated corruption, where the boundaries of legality and morality have long been erased. Rahmani's consistent presence as a main investor across these various illegal schemes, from the unethical and dangerous drug trials of the 90s to the contemporary counterfeit medicines, it paints a chilling picture of a calculated long-term operator who has likely built a formidable empire on the suffering and exploitation of others. The warehouse, therefore, becomes more than just a storage facility. It's a physical manifestation of these hidden, ongoing operations. A tangible link that could provide the crucial missing pieces to connect the past misdeeds with the current reign of terror. For Bahram, it represents the next critical step in peeling back yet another layer of this elaborate criminal onion, exposing the physical heart of their illicit operations.
The Karizak warehouse and the driver's confession.
Armed with this potent new clue, the Karzak warehouse, a tangible physical thread in this complex, ever-tightening web, Bahram and two trusted officers head out. The scene is exactly what you'd expect from such a place. An industrial, abandoned area, its rusty corrugated walls seeming to sweat neglect and decay. A pungent, acrid chemical smell hanging heavy in the cool autumn air. It's a place designed for secrets, isn't it? For things to be hidden and forgotten, far from prying eyes. And inside, as they force their way through the corroded doors, they hit the jackpot. Unearthing more than just evidence, they unearth a connection that irrevocably solidifies the terrifying conspiracy. They found it. Boxes upon boxes full of syringes, their sterile plastics, a stark contrast to the grime, along with unlabeled medicines, clear, undeniable confirmation of the illegal drug operations that Nigar had so bravely spoken of. This isn't just Aresh's word anymore. It's tangible, irrefutable proof laid bare before them. More importantly, and for you, our listener, this is the crucial moment of direct connection. They discover meticulously kept documents listing the names of all the previous victims. Mohsen Karimi, Saran Namati, Kazim Rahimi, and now Arash Tehrani. This is the crucial, damning link Bahram needed, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that these victims weren't random at all. They were all connected to this illicit operation. And nestled right next to these damning documents, a photo, slightly faded, of an old green Benz with a clear license plate registered to a man named Siamak. The elusive car, that ghostly specter, finally has a face, a specific owner, and a direct link to the crimes. Wow.
Yeah, this is truly where the direct physical evidence starts to coalesce into an undeniable, horrifying pattern. The explicit victim list, found within the warehouse itself, definitively links each individual to this clandestine operation, providing a concrete motive that moves far beyond mere suspicion. It's no longer about disparate victims caught in random violence. It's about individuals meticulously targeted because of their knowledge of or direct involvement in pars de roux's illicit activities. Furthermore, the photograph of the green Benz, complete with a legible license plate, transforms the elusive car from a recurring symbolic motif into a specific trackable piece of evidence. It points directly to a potential accomplice, bringing the abstract green Benz into the tangible realm of the investigation. For Bahram, this is the pivotal moment where he moves from hypothesis and intuition to undeniable fact, with incontrovertible physical evidence to back up his theories, paving the way for immediate action. This is the moment a detective lives for, isn't it? Where the scattered pieces finally form a coherent, terrifying picture.
Bahram wastes no time. He immediately tracks down the license plate, leading him to Samak Naderi, 47, a former Pars Daru driver living in a small old apartment in the unassuming Nazibad district. The confrontation is tense, thick with unspoken accusations and Siamak's clear, palpable fear. Bahram knows he's cornered a crucial piece of the puzzle, a man caught between his own terror and the horrifying truth. Siamak initially denies any ownership or knowledge of the green Benz, his tired face and anxious eyes betraying his words with every nervous twitch. But when Bahram lays out the warehouse documents, the undeniable proof, Siamak turns pale, the color draining from his face as if he'd seen a ghost. The carefully constructed facade just crumbles instantly. He breaks, tears welling in his eyes, claiming in a desperate plea, "I was just a driver. They forced me. They said that if I didn't cooperate, they would kill my family, my wife, my children." He insists repeatedly. "Someone else was giving orders. I was just driving the car, nothing more." It's a confession born of pure abject terror, but it unequivocally confirms Bahram's gravest suspicions. There's a higher power at play, a more sinister architect pulling the strings behind these gruesome acts.
For you, our listener, Siamak embodies the classic pawn in a much larger, infinitely more dangerous game. It's quite sad, actually. His confession of being coerced, of being just a driver, strongly suggests a sophisticated, ruthless criminal organization where individuals are not only expendable, but also manipulated through the most powerful motivator known to humanity: fear. This is not the work of an isolated criminal. It confirms Bahram's suspicion that there's a mastermind pulling the strings, a shadowy figure operating above both Romani and Siamak, dictating the horrific terms of their operation. This isn't just an isolated criminal act. It's a meticulously organized network, leveraging fear and coercion to maintain its deadly grip. Siamak's profound fear for his family paints a vivid, heartbreaking picture of the sheer power and ruthlessness of this organization, demonstrating its vast reach and its unshakable resolve to protect its secrets at any cost. This type of structure, where layers of command protect the ultimate leader, is a hallmark of truly dangerous, enduring criminal enterprises.
The elephant emerges from the shadows.
Bahram wastes no time. He arrests Siamak, the trembling driver, and immediately brings him in for interrogation. He knows this man, despite his fear, holds the key to unlocking the identity of the true puppet master, the one orchestrating this deadly symphony. The driver, under intense but calculated pressure, eventually reveals a crucial piece of information, giving a name, or rather terrifying nickname, to the mastermind behind these ghastly acts. Siamak admits, his voice barely a whisper, that he received orders from a man nicknamed Elephant. He'd never actually seen Elephant's face, a detail that chills Bahram, but he knew of a close, almost subservient relationship between this elephant and Romani. This is it. The elephant in the dark note, the chilling signature left at every murder scene, finally gets a terrifying human connection. Bahram senses with an undeniable certainty, a cold dread mixing with triumphant insight, that this elephant is a true network mastermind, the one pulling all the strings from the deepest, most impenetrable shadows. The moniker is no longer just a cryptic message. It's a terrifying identity, the very personification of the hidden power he's been chasing.
What's profoundly fascinating here, and a significant insight into the psychology of this mastermind, is the deliberate choice of the nickname Elephant. It directly echoes the ominous murder notes. It suggests a certain arrogance, doesn't it? A belief in their own invisibility, their immense power, and their untouchability, like the proverb about the blind man and the elephant, perhaps. Where everyone perceives only a part of a larger truth, the inability of Siamak to describe elephant physically, other than an impression, powerfully reinforces the idea of a carefully constructed facade. A figure who operates exclusively from the shadows, ensuring they remain incredibly difficult to trace or identify. It's a calculated strategy, a deliberate choice to maintain ultimate control and avoid detection, creating this mythical, almost omniscient presence that instills fear even in those who work directly for them. This figure clearly understands the psychology of fear and how to leverage it to build and maintain their empire of silence and corruption.
With this chilling new lead, this terrifying nickname, Bahram, driven by a renewed sense of purpose and a fresh surge of adrenaline, returns to Rahmani's mansion in Zafarani. As always, the mansion is empty, a grand but hollow shell, its opulent rooms silent and cold. But this time, Bahram's intuition, honed by years of chasing shadows and recognizing patterns, leads him to a cleverly concealed secret door in the basement, hidden behind an unassuming built-in wall. It leads to a dark, narrow tunnel, its air thick with the suffocating stench of mold and, chillingly, the undeniable odor of old blood. The path ahead promises answers, but at what cost? At the end of that suffocating, winding tunnel, a hidden room reveals itself, illuminated by Bahram's flashlight. It's not just a storage space, but clearly an operational hub. The room is filled with stacks of documents, a collection of knives similar to murder scenes, laid out with grim precision, and notes with the same ominous red line and cryptic message he'd found at every crime scene. And here's a truly chilling detail, a detail that for you, our listener, perfectly ties the unseen string puller to the very fabric of the crimes. A meticulously annotated map of Millet Park, with a distinct, unsettling sign precisely marking the lake exactly where Arash Tehrani's body was found. This isn't just planning, this is personal, this is calculated. And it reveals an intimate knowledge of the victim's final moments. It's almost a macabre trophy room, a testament to the killer's cold, calculating nature.
That secret lair is incredibly significant. It's not just a storage space for illicit goods or old files, but seemingly an operational hub, a sanctuary, and perhaps even a chilling trophy room for the killer. Yeah. The presence of similar knives and the identical notes strongly suggests a direct, active connection to the murders, possibly even where the signature notes were crafted and where the tools of their deadly trade were kept and organized. The map of Millet Park with a specific mark indicates meticulous premeditation, a profound familiarity with the geography, and a chillingly intimate knowledge of the crime scenes. This discovery profoundly blurs the lines between Rahmani's known involvement in the larger network and the direct execution of the murders, suggesting a much deeper, more sinister collaboration at the heart of this criminal enterprise. It gives the detective a stark, terrifying glimpse into the meticulous, confident mind of the killer, someone who plans with surgical precision and revels in ultimate control.
The puzzle pieces are falling into place with alarming speed and precision, but Bahram, ever the meticulous detective, knows there are still crucial gaps. He returns to Millet Park, compelled to re-examine the lake area more closely, scrutinizing every detail, every shadow, searching for anything missed in the initial fog-shrouded inspection. Near where Arash Tehrani's body was found, almost as if hidden by a stroke of fate, under a humble, unsuspecting bush, he enters the small, corroded metal box containing old videotapes. These aren't just tapes, they're potential eyes into the darkest moments of the elephant's reign. His heart pounds with anticipation as he takes them back to the station, knowing these could be the ultimate breakthrough. The images on the tapes, when finally played on an old flickering machine salvaged from the police station's warehouse, are blurry and shaky, their quality degraded by time and poor recording. But they show enough. A man in a dark coat and brimmed hat injecting something into the victims. The face is unclear, obscured by the low quality, the distance, and perhaps deliberate concealment. But in one fleeting strip, a green Benz can be distinctly seen, almost lurking in the background. Bahram stares at the screen, a new, chilling thought forming in his mind, the words of the killer's note echoing. The elephant sees the truth in the dark. Was this vague, shadowy figure on the tape just another piece, another pawn in this complex, deadly game? Or was this the actual elephant itself, finally caught on tape, albeit indistinctly? The question hangs heavy in the air, electrifying the room.
This is an absolutely crucial moment for Bahram and for our understanding of the investigation. The videotapes, despite their blurriness and lack of clear facial identification, powerfully confirm several key details that were previously anecdotal or circumstantial. The existence of the man in the dark coat and brimmed hat, the chilling method of injection, at least for some victims, and the recurring ominous presence of the green Benz. While the face remains unclear, the visual corroboration of these elements from earlier reports and Siamak's partial description adds immense, undeniable weight to the investigation. It serves as a visual affirmation that Bahram is not only on the right track, but moving from circumstantial evidence to direct, albeit pixelated, observation of the killer's actual presence at the crime scenes. It validates the detective's instinct and fuels his relentless, now hyper-focused pursuit of the mastermind, bringing the abstract elephant closer to a tangible reality. This type of visual evidence, even incomplete, is a game changer.
Critical clues and the unmasking of Phil.
The investigation intensifies with every new piece of evidence. Bahram, connecting every possible thread, calls the forensic laboratory for Arash Tehrani's autopsy report. He's seeking every minute scientific detail that could shed more light on the killer's methods and habits. The details are precise and chilling. Death occurred between 10:45 and 11:15 p.m. A sharp, professional knife was used for the throat cut, and tellingly, there were absolutely no fingerprints found on the knife or the green cloth. These forensic details speak to a meticulous, highly professional killer, someone who understands crime scene integrity and takes painstaking measures to avoid leaving a trace, almost as if they've been trained in such a dark craft. But here's a small detail, seemingly insignificant to most, yet proving to be absolutely crucial in the hands of a seasoned detective. A half-burnt red Winston cigarette. Its filter discarded in the park. Its brand, a common one, but its presence matching cigarettes found in previous case files, forming a subtle pattern. It's a seemingly minor oversight from an otherwise impossibly careful killer, a flicker of human habit that even the most meticulous can't always suppress. Bahram, with a stroke of brilliant intuition, turns to Siamak, who is now fully cooperating, and asks the simple yet profoundly incisive question. Does the elephant smoke? A question designed to link a deeply personal habit to the anonymous, shadowy figure, bypassing the lack of physical description and moving straight to behavioral fingerprinting.
Right. For you, our listener, this level of detail from the autopsy and the cigarette clue highlights the profound importance of connecting seemingly minor behavioral patterns in a criminal investigation. No fingerprints on the murder weapon or signature cloth clearly suggest a highly professional, careful killer, perhaps someone with military or surgical training, an individual acutely aware of forensic processes. However, a discarded cigarette, a red Winston, is a deeply personal habit, a potential slip, a moment of human frailty that even the most meticulous can overlook or dismiss. This raises an important, almost psychological question. Is elephant getting sloppy, perhaps growing overconfident in their perceived invincibility? Or is this a calculated detail, strategically left to misdirect or even taunt the investigation? It forces Baum to consider the deeper psychological aspects of the killer, not just their methods, using what seems like an insignificant detail to build a more comprehensive profile. The red Winston becomes a unique identifier in the chilling absence of a face.
Following another promising lead, Bahram then meticulously canvasses Arash Tehrani's neighbors in the First District, hoping for any corroborating sightings or whispers that could shed more light on Arash's final days. A middle-aged woman, Mrs. Hosseini, a keen observer, provides precisely the key observations he needs, powerfully reinforcing the sinister presence of the green Benz and its shadowy driver. Mrs. Hosseini, her voice hushed with fear, confirms seeing a green Benz in the alley several nights ago and a tall man in a dark coat getting out. More significantly, she'd seen this man talking to Arash in the parking lot multiple times over the past few weeks. This isn't a random ambush, a sudden brutal attack. There was a pre-existing connection, a conversation, perhaps a manipulation at play. Bahram, inspecting the parking lot himself, finds similar tire traces etched into the damp ground there, and eerily, another piece of green cloth almost perfectly placed, as if the killer had deliberately left it there. This blatant repetition, this almost theatrical gesture, feels less like an oversight and more like a chilling taunt, a defiant statement to the detective himself.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of criminal psychology, the repeated sightings of the green Benz, the consistent signature, and particularly the deliberate dropping of the green cloth, it all points to a killer who is growing increasingly confident, perhaps even overtly taunting the police. This isn't an attempt to hide their presence, it's an assertion of power, a challenge. The fact that the man in the dark coat was seen talking to Arash multiple times suggests a more direct, perhaps manipulative relationship than just an unknown assailant stalking his prey. This killer might be leveraging existing trust or pre-existing contact to lure their victims, making the acts even more chillingly personal and psychologically sophisticated. It's a bold display of impunity, isn't it? A dare thrown directly at the authorities, pushing them to catch them. This level of confidence often precedes a critical error, or in this case, a deliberate calculated escalation.
Bahram returns to the police station, his mind racing, processing the cascade of new information, the pieces of the puzzle now moving rapidly towards a terrifying conclusion. He speaks with Colonel Bazornia, the astute head of the police station, who confirms a vital detail that had been overlooked. Arash had indeed come to the station months earlier, reporting escalating threats and specific sightings of a green Benz. This is where it gets really interesting, you see, because it confirms this wasn't a new threat, but a long simmering one that Arash had tried to report. Bahram then delves back into Colonel Karimi's notes from previous related files, unearthing a cryptic but powerful warning. Rahmani is just a pawn. We have to find the mastermind. It's in this precise moment, as all the disparate threads converge, the old warnings, the new evidence, the specific connections, that Bahram has an electrifying epiphany, a sudden, undeniable flash of insight. Phil is the mastermind. A name. Not a nickname, not a shadow, but a concrete name that finally links the shadowy elephant to a real individual in Bahram's mind. But for you, our listener, how did he make that monumental leap? What singular piece of information, or what sudden brilliant connection of existing clues, allowed him to pierce through the dense fog of deception and name the unseen orchestrator of these horrors? It was more than a hunch. It was the culmination of relentless detective work, deep pattern recognition, and an intuitive leap born from sheer exhaustion and unwavering determination.
Exactly. This convergence of details Arash's earlier ignored reports confirming the long-standing threat and the ominous green Benz, coupled with Colonel Karimi's prescient, almost prophetic note about Rahmani being merely a pawn, provides the critical context for Bahram's sudden, profound epiphany. It powerfully validates his instincts that there's a higher power, a true puppet master at work. The Phil revelation isn't just a random guess. It's the result of meticulously processing countless data points, identifying subtle patterns, and understanding the complex hierarchy of this criminal operation. It signifies a crucial shift from chasing a phantom, a symbolic elephant, to pinpointing a specific tangible individual. This also underscores that even within the police force, there were prior, albeit unacted upon, suspicions about a mastermind. It indicates a deeply entrenched and incredibly complex criminal enterprise that had evaded full detection for a significant amount of time. Bahram is not just solving a case. He's building upon past, unresolved insights, bringing them to a powerful, terrifying fruition.
The true identity of the elephant, Phil.
Bahram, now laser-focused with the name Phil burning in his mind, revisits the Karizak warehouse. He meticulously rechecks every document, every scrap of paper, knowing that the smallest, most innocuous detail could now confirm his powerful intuition, turn a name into a definitive identity. And there it is, tucked amongst the illegal drug records, almost a taunt in its audacity. A letter addressed directly to Arash. It's unsigned, but the handwriting unmistakably resembles the chilling blood-red murder notes he's seen countless times. Arash, you know a lot. Phil sees everything. This is the smoking gun. The moment of undeniable, chilling confirmation. The elephant has a name. Phil.
Yeah, for you, our listener, this letter is the smoking gun, the definitive link Bahram so desperately needed. The identical handwriting directly ties Phil to the ominous notes left at the crime scenes, transforming a detective's strong hunch and an intuitive leap into an undeniable, cold, hard fact. It confirms Bahram's earlier intuition and provides a concrete name to the abstract elephant, finally connecting the alias to a real, terrifying individual. This raises an important question, doesn't it? Who is Phil in relation to Parsa Daru and Rahmani? Is he the silent, true owner, the secretive CEO, or simply the most ruthless strategic operator in a long chain of command? His direct, threatening communication and the chilling tone in the letter solidly establish his role as the orchestrator, the true head of this hydra. This kind of direct, personal threat, delivered in the killer's own hand, leaves no room for doubt about his central role.
Armed with this damning evidence, the handwritten proofs, Bahram then directly confronts the CEO of Parsa Daru, Dr. Murad, and his pristine, overly manicured office. Murad, as always, is cold and mysterious, maintaining an icy composure, a mask of disinterest, as he coolly denies any problems with Arash, dismissing him as merely a business partner whose priorities had shifted. But when Bahram pivots with surgical precision, directly asking about the green Benz, that physical, undeniable link to the murders, Murad's composure shatters. His anxiety becomes palpable, betraying his carefully constructed facade. "I don't know anything about the green car," he insists, but the sudden tremor in his voice, the nervous shift in his demeanor speaks volumes. It confirms his complicity, or at the very least, a profound, terrified knowledge.
What's truly fascinating here, and a classic insight into the human element of deception, is how Marad's carefully maintained composure finally breaks. It's quite telling. It's not the accusations of corporate malfeasance that rattle him, which he's clearly adept at denying. No, it's when he's confronted with the specific, tangible detail of the green Benz, the physical instrument and symbol of the murders. This suggests a direct connection, or at least knowledge he's desperately trying to conceal, indicating that while Murad might be good at managing appearances and navigating corporate deceit, the mention of the actual physical evidence, the brutal instrument of the crimes, strikes too close to home for him to maintain his cool. His sudden, undeniable anxiety points to his complicity, or at the very least, a deep, pervasive fear of the person or entity associated with that car. Bahram, as an experienced detective, would immediately pick up on these subtle yet powerful tells of guilt and fear.
Sensing Murad is unequivocally hiding something vital, something deeply incriminating, Bahram takes a bold, decisive step. He bypasses official channels and breaks into the company's meticulously organized archives, knowing that the real truth is buried within those files, much like the bodies were buried in the city's underbelly, waiting to be unearthed. And what he finds there confirms his darkest fears. Documents proving Pars Daru is still distributing illegal drugs, actively, systematically, and without compunction. The corruption, Bahram realizes, is not just ongoing, it's endemic, deeply embedded in the very structure of the company. And then, a final damning piece of evidence. In one of those documents, the name Phil is explicitly mentioned as the main contact, the chief orchestrator for these illicit operations. The chain is complete. The network is exposed. With this irrefutable proof, Bahram presses Siamak again, confronting the driver with the full weight of the evidence, the undeniable truth of Phil's identity and control. The driver, realizing the game is undeniably up, finally admits he saw the elephant once, a fleeting, terrifying glimpse, at the Karizak warehouse.
A tall man with a dark coat and a brimmed hat that always stays in the shadows. And then comes the chilling final addendum, delivered with a tremor of pure, primal terror. He said that if I said anything, he would kill me, like everyone else. The true face of terror, though still partially obscured by a hat and shadow, has been revealed, and the true cost of silence made horrifyingly clear.
For you, our listener, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the pieces are now fully, terrifyingly in place, weaving all the disparate threads into a clear, horrifying tapestry. Phil is unequivocally Elephant, the mastermind, the main contact for the illegal drug distribution network, and the elusive man in the dark coat whose shadow has loomed over every crime scene, haunting Bahram's investigation. Romani is indeed a pawn, albeit a significant one, a high-level lieutenant working directly with Phil. Siamak, the trembling driver, is the coerced accomplice, trapped by fear and circumstance. The entire network is now revealed, and the true extent of its reach, its ruthless efficiency, and its decades-long history of corruption becomes horrifyingly, undeniably clear. Bahram has meticulously dismantled the layers of deception, finally exposing the architect, the true elephant in the dark of this deadly enterprise. The clarity of the picture, once so shrouded, is now stark and terrifying.
The elephant's final warning: the game is not over.
The final pieces of the puzzle, the last whispers of Arash Tehrani, are still waiting to be discovered, like hidden messages from beyond the grave. Bahram, ever thorough, returns one last time to Mellet Park, meticulously rechecking the area around the lake where Arash's body was found, his detective's instinct telling him there's one more clue. Under a humble bush, almost as if hidden by fate itself, he finds an old, water-damaged phone that apparently belonged to Arash. The phone is locked, its screen dark, but Bahram, with a surge of hope, gives it to the police station's technical team, knowing it could hold a final, crucial message. They unlock it, revealing a message Arash received just hours before his death. Tonight, the lake. At 10 o'clock, the elephant is waiting. This wasn't a random murder, not an ambush. It was a cold, calculated lure, a final, sadistic summons from the mastermind.
What's truly fascinating here, and deeply chilling for you, our listener, is the deliberate, almost theatrical nature of the murder. Arash was not simply ambushed. He was lured, invited to his own demise by a message that carried the killer's chilling signature. Wow. This indicates an extremely high degree of confidence and control from Elephant, suggesting he delights in the psychological torment, the manipulation, and the power dynamic as much as the act of killing itself. It shows a profound level of premeditation and a manipulative streak that goes far beyond mere killing. The message is a clear invitation to his own demise, a final, sadistic game played by the mastermind, a demonstration of ultimate power and control even in his victims' last moments. It paints a picture of a killer who enjoys playing with his victims, exerting absolute dominance right up until their final breath.
Bahram then goes back to Romani's underground tunnel, feeling a magnetic, undeniable pull to that dark, hidden space, convinced there might be one more secret to uncover. He re-examines it every inch, hoping for any overlooked detail. And there, tucked away in another alcove, he finds another metal box of videotapes, much like the one found in the park, but this one appears more personal, more damning. One tape, slightly clearer than the others, shows a man in a dark coat, his features obscured but his presence undeniable, talking to Romani. The voice is unclear, distorted by the old recording, a muffled murmur, but the word elephant is repeated several times throughout the muffled conversation. This confirms what Bahram had suspected, solidifying the hierarchy. Romani and Elephant are indeed two separate people, but they are absolutely working together. Perhaps Romani is a powerful lieutenant, with Phil as the true, shadowy general orchestrating it all. All the pieces are finally undeniably connected, weaving together into a horrifyingly coherent picture. The old green Benz, an eerie recurring specter, the green cloths, the chilling cryptic notes left at every scene, a signature of terror. The red Winston cigarettes, a small but powerful behavioral signature of the killer, and the victim's undeniable links to Parsdaru's decades of illegal, life-threatening activities. Bahram has meticulously solved it. He has unmasked the elephant, or so he thinks. That night, in the deceptive quiet of his Visufad apartment, Bahram is reviewing the entire overwhelming case, trying to find some semblance of closure, to bring order to the chaos when his doorbell rings. It's late, unusually late. He opens the door, but no one is there, just a small, innocuous box on the floor. Inside, nestled on a bed of dark velvet, is a familiar green cloth and a note, chillingly familiar, penned in that same stark red ink. "The elephant sees you, detective." His heart races, a cold dread washing over him, instantly eclipsing any sense of triumph. He instinctively goes to the window and looks out at the street below. There, parked in the distance, partially obscured by the darkness and the persistent rain, is a green Benz, and a shadow stands next to it, watching his apartment, watching him. As Bahram, propelled by a desperate surge of adrenaline, runs towards the street, the car speeds away, disappearing into the night, leaving only the memory of its green glow and the chilling message. The game, he realizes with a sickening lurch, is far from over. It has only just begun, and now it's personal.
For you, our listener, this raises an incredibly important, almost existential question about the nature of justice and closure, especially when dealing with such a deeply entrenched and powerful criminal network. Even with the mastermind identified as Phil and the network meticulously understood, the elephant remains at large, operating with impunity and now chillingly, directly threatening the detective who dared to expose him. It underscores that exposing a truth, especially one so deeply rooted in corporate malfeasance, fear, and decades of power, doesn't always lead to an immediate or definitive resolution, a neat tying up of loose ends. The threat isn't neutralized. It's simply shifted, becoming deeply personal for Bahram. It suggests that while the truth might finally be revealed, the battle for true justice, for genuine accountability, is far from won. The chase is not over. It has merely entered a more dangerous and frighteningly intimate phase.
A truly chilling end to the immediate investigation, confirming that even when you unmask the elephant, its power, its reach, its shadow can still loom large. The elephant is still roaming in the dark, and this deadly game has, for Detective Sharifi, just begun. Conclusion and listener connection. So, what does this all mean for you, our listener, as we wrap up this incredible deep dive into the Green Benz murders? What stands out from this chilling narrative? It's a stark, powerful reminder that even in our modern, data-rich, information-saturated world, some truths remain stubbornly hidden in plain sight, protected by insidious layers of deception, fear, and the sheer power of entrenched forces. This story isn't just about a detective chasing a killer through the rainy streets of Tehran. It's about the relentless, often dangerous pursuit of truth against powerful, deeply entrenched forces that operate in the shadows. It shows, with gripping clarity, how small, seemingly disparate details, a green cloth, a specific brand of cigarette, a fleeting glimpse of an old car can, with keen observation, unwavering persistence, and brilliant intuition, weave together to reveal a much larger, darker tapestry of corporate corruption, manipulation, and violence. It's a testament to the power of human curiosity and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds, and a stark reminder of the risks involved in shining a light into the darkest corners.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it profoundly encourages critical thinking about the vast amount of information we encounter daily, urging us to look beyond the surface. The victim's initially diverse backgrounds and methods of murder successfully clouded the real motive, which was, at its core, deeply tied to corporate malfeasance and the silencing of those who threatened its exposure. It shows us that surface-level differences can often be deliberately constructed distractions from fundamental underlying connections and a singular powerful motive. It also powerfully highlights the immense courage it takes for individuals like Arash Tehrani to even attempt to expose corruption, and the grave, often fatal risks they face in doing so. This narrative serves as a potent cautionary tale about the constant vigilance required to protect truth and integrity, and the far-reaching, devastating consequences when corruption is allowed to fester and grow unchallenged. Becoming an elephant in the room that no one dares to name, it truly demonstrates the intricate, almost impenetrable layers that can conceal a dark and deadly reality.
Here's where it gets really interesting, something for you to ponder long after this deep dive concludes. In a world saturated with information, where the elephant, whether a person, a company, or a network, can so effectively hide behind the very systems designed to bring things to light, behind layers of corporate jargon and legal maneuvering, how do we discern the truth in the dark? And what responsibility do we bear as informed citizens when we suspect that powerful, hidden forces are at play, orchestrating events from the shadows, much like Detective Sharifi discovering that the game has only just begun? Dear friends and companions, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, subscribe to me on YouTube, and join my Telegram channel where I wrote my ID in the caption and description and in all the videos at the bottom corner. Follow us so that I can present the best story to you.